Hello. Have you ever found it a little bit difficult to factor a quadratic equation? Well, today I'm going to explain to you a method that I use to make factoring a little bit easier. So let's see this equation. X squared plus 7x plus 10 equals 0. A typical method people would use would to be guessing and checking, kind of splitting up the 7x into 1 and plus 6, 2 plus 5, 3 plus 4, and etc. And then they would ultimately end up with 5x plus 2x, and they would have to organize it in a way where it's x squared plus 5x factors into x times x plus 5, and 2x plus 10 factors into 2 times x plus 5, and you would combine them to get x plus 2 times the quantity x plus 5, which ultimately it does get to the right answer, but this can be extremely difficult when it gets to more complex quadratic equations. And so my method I like to call the cross product addition method. And so this divides this equation up into three main terms, in which it's ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is the coefficient in front of x squared, b is the coefficient in front of x, and c is the constant, which has no x next to it, it's just a number. And so in this case, x squared, our a for x squared is 1. Our b, the number in front of the x, is 7. And then our c, the number with just a constant, so no x, is 10. And so you can kind of see the format of a cross product addition here. We have two numbers on the left, an x, and then two numbers on the right. On the left, these two numbers we want to multiply to a, so to 1, which the only case in this problem would be 1 and 1. 1 times 1 is 1. And we'd like to keep these numbers positive. So negative 1 times negative 1, we would like these numbers to be the negative ones rather than the coefficients. And so then we want these two numbers on the right here to multiply to c. So we want them to multiply to 10. And the only two cases we would have would be 1 and 10, negative 1, negative 10, 2 and 5, and negative 2 and negative 5. So let's try 1 and 10. Let's put 1 here and 10 here. And so when we do the cross product addition, we want it to multiply. So 1 times 1 is 1. And then 1 times 10, we follow the x, is 10. And we get 11. However, we want our product addition to add to b equals 7. And 11 is not 7. So let's try a different combination of numbers. We know that 1 and 10 don't work. And then negative 1, negative 10 would just produce negative 11. So that also wouldn't work. So then let's try 2 and 5. Let's put 2 here, 5 here. 1 cross to 2 is 2. 1 cross to 5, 1 cross to 5 is 5. And adding up, 7. That is what we want. And so this is a very generic form of cross product addition. And so we want our left side to multiply to a, as remember the form here. We want the right side to multiply to c in our form here. And then we want the cross product multiplication, so adding these cross multiplications as we did here to equal to b. So let's try this method on another problem. Here we have x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. So let's start again by setting up our cross product multiplication. So we have two numbers here, an x, and then two numbers here. And again, following our format of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, we know that a in this format, problem would be 1. We know that b would be negative 2. And we know that c would be negative 15. And so what two numbers would multiply to a on the left side, again, would be 1 and 1. Then for c equals negative 15, we have a variety of choices that we can choose to try and cross multiply and add into b. And so we can test out the factors of negative 15. So we have negative 1 and 15, negative 15 and 1, negative 3, 5, and negative 5, 3. So let's start off by with negative 1 and 15. When we cross multiply, we get negative 1 plus 1 times 15, which is 15, which is 14. And that's very big. I mean, our goal here is negative 2, so 14 is a bit large. So let's try these two numbers that are closer together. So let's try negative 3 and 5. So let's try that. We have negative 3 and 5. So 1 times negative 3 is negative 3, 1 times 5 is 5. And so here we get 2, but we want negative 2. So instead of this pairing, let's try this pairing. So negative 5 and 3. So then we get 1 times negative 5 is negative 5, plus 1 times 3 is negative 2. And so we reached our goal. And so how do we write this back out into an equation? So now we would go straight ahead. So this is the coefficient for x. And this is the just the number, the constant. And so we have x minus 5 and x plus 3 equals 0. And when we multiply this back out, we know that these two are the answers. We can have x squared plus 3x minus 5x minus 15. And we get x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. Now, let's move on to our final problem, which now has a coefficient of 2, as you may see here. So then when we set up our cross multiplication again, we have a equals 2 this time, b equals negative 3, c equals 1. So two numbers that multiply to 2 would be 2 and 1. So in this case, we wouldn't have 1 and 1, we would have 2 and 1. And again, over here, we want to see what two numbers multiply to 1 for c. And we have negative 1, and 1 and 1. So let's first try 1 and 1. So we have 1 times 1 is 1, plus 2 times 1 is 2 equals 3. But our goal here is negative 3. So let's try negative 1 and negative 1. So you get 1 times 1 is 1 times negative 1 is negative 1, plus 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, which is negative 3. And so this gives our answer. So here, again, remember the left side is the coefficient for x, and the right side is the constant. And so we would have 2x minus 1, and then x minus 1 as our answers. I hope you learned something from this video, and thank you for watching. Have a good day.